Welcome to the Clyde Recreation Center Orientation Training, Session 3. This is primarily a lot of policy driven. We're going to review when I work as well as mind body, registration, retail, some of those elements. So we're here, Recreation Center track policy. We made it nice and big for those of you with bad eyes. Patrons must be 14 or older. Why is that?
Well, I would say, well, actually, I don't know. I had something in my head and it went.
Okay. Any guesses?
They're smart enough to make good choices.
Yeah. Hopefully they are smart enough, like you had mentioned, to make good choices or at least understand the rules and we can hold them more accountable than younger children for being intelligent. So 14 and older is allowed on the track in the fitness area without parent oversight or someone being right next to them. If they are 11 to 13, they must have adult supervision. Any reason why? Why did we choose 11 to 13?
Maybe because they're old enough to be there, but not like they still need a little bit of, hey, follow the rules, guidance from their own parents.
Yeah, that's pretty close. We had a city administrator who was like, hey, what about scouts? What about when they want to come and do a merit badge or something? And we said, well, we could have a facility attendant go up with them, help them out for that hour, and then they were concerned about the budget. You know, what if there's an influx of people? We're taking manpower away from the front desk. So instead of that happening, they said, let's just have adult supervision because scouts come with adult supervision. And that's how it happened. So a lot of interesting reasons for some of these policies. Hopefully, if you understand the policies, like I referenced before, the idea anytime we're interacting with patrons is not to say, our rules are, or, yeah, sorry, that's the policy, okay? It's to explain the reason behind all of these. So as part of it, they say we can give them options. Yes, 14 years and older are allowed upstairs. 13 and younger without adult supervision are allowed in the gymnasium. They're allowed in the pool area. And so that is a great way of getting our message across without saying you can't. Okay, so keep that in mind, frame it positively. Children may accompany adults if they are in a stroller carrier. So a great example of this happened in Provo. When I was sports manager, we regularly transferred some of our working hours at the front desk to become very familiar with how the rec center operated. So at one point, we had a policy, no one on the track unless you're 14, right? Or a parent was there pushing you in a stroller. And so she had, I think it was a 12-year-old with her, and I shared with her the policy. So she came back like 5 minutes later with her 12 or 13-year-old in the stroller. And she was pretty heated, like, is this okay? And then she got, and just assumed it was and started pushing them around the track. At which point I said to myself, that's awesome. Good for you. Way to make the policy work for you and your family. So, if we ever have situations like that, let's share them. Let's become familiar with how our patrons feel about the policies, and maybe there's some potential for change, right? It never became an element of change in Provo, obviously, but it's a great story that they still tell. I mean, she beat us. She definitely won that one. Okay, strollers are limited to the walking lane. It's going to be the inside lane. So the outside lane will be the one closest to the outer walls of the facility. Inside lane, more often than not, be close to the lifting area. Okay. Use caution entering, exiting the track. So these are things that we would expect our patrons to know. We'll eventually have signage in different areas with some of these policy elements on them. Users must travel in the same direction. Does that make sense? Be surprised how many people are contrarian and enjoy creating waves or making people go, What are they doing? Right?
Oh,
How many times has that happened? At least 6 for me. And when I go work out, occasionally someone will go from stretching in a corner of the track and then walk against the grain because it's shorter. I'm not too opposed to that because it's short, maybe time's an issue. But it's when they're walking the entire lap the wrong direction. So we want to nip that in the bud, make sure it's not happening consistently because patrons could run into each other. Fair amount of times, people...
Funny story?
Yeah, Michelle's got a funny story. I think she should come in front of the camera, guys.
No, there was a guy with a basketball dribbling in the wrong direction just to create waves. And he said it was to improve his speed
Mm. And
because he can run faster with the basketball. And I was like,
with people
You're
coming
the
at him,
first.
right?
exactly.
Game simulation, people coming at him. Okay,
Who knew?
who knew, right? Track is not a viewing spectator area for the gymnasium or the pool for that matter. We got great visuals, you may recall, along that western track edge, just looking straight into competition. So hopefully people don't stand there and gawk. Try and remove that from happening. No standing, stretching, or stopping. Spitting is prohibited. I'm still amazed by how frequently that happens. Gross. But once they're running, I guess the feeling is, hey, this is what you do when you run. So if you see that, please talk to them. Don't say, oh, they already spit. It's too late. No, they need to hear that from us firsthand. Hey, no spitting. Headphones have to be used. So if anyone's got their beatbox on the shoulder, circa 1983, right? We want that plugged in or Bluetooth into their headphones. We don't have a problem with them carrying it on their shoulder. It's just the noise pollution. Food, gum, and drinks are not allowed. Let's keep going. Food, drink.
Question here.
Yeah, question.
Alright, with the food, gum, and drinks are not allowed. Say someone comes in with like, you're gonna go on the track and they come in with a water bottle.
Yeah,
Would that be okay?
that is okay. With the question, are we going to open every bottle that we see? What if they've got something in it that's not allowed? So technically coffee, any kind of stainable drink is not allowed because it's going to mess up our facility, right? But we're not going to open their water bottles and request that they show us. So if we witness something dumping, we can ask them to dump it out. Outside of that, we're just going to allow bottles. Good question. Don't stretch, climb, or lean on railings. Track is intended for general fitness, walking and jogging. Why not sprinting? Seems reasonable. We're inside. I got to get my quick twitch strengthened. No sprints?
you could do sprints in the gymnasium.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Carly, for giving me an option to do what I wanted in a place that's more appropriate. Yeah, this track has really sharp corners. So it's almost designed so that you can't do sprints because you're going to cover a lot of space in a very short time. But mostly, if people are walking and jogging, sprinters are a hazard. How many times have you walked by someone on the sidewalk or in the mall and they're in the middle of talking and they tell a story where their arms go up right in the face? We've seen it happen. So sprinters are going to hurt people. We don't want that. Okay? So last element, 9 laps equals 1 mile. Whew. That seems like a lot. But it is a pretty small area.
Yeah.
Okay, next item. You ready for the next policy? Let's do court use. Gymnasium, court use. Zoom in for those of you with really bad eyesight. Okay, gymnasium court use. So most of the conflicts we're going to see in the gymnasium are for turf elements. You see a lot of people in there first, they don't want to share because they never learned it or wasn't reinforced in their house. And so now we get to be the default parent in how they interact with others. So we created this policy to help them. know what we're going to follow up with them on, okay? No food, gum, drinks. Plastic, non-glass, reusable water bottles are acceptable. So we got a little bit more detail than we did upstairs. Athletic shoes, non-marking soles must be worn. Any reason why? Yeah, so we've got a pair of dress shoes like this, right? We have a rubber floor. What's going to happen?
You're gonna slip and slide.
Could slip and slide. The corner of these shoes might dig into the rubber, create an imperfection. But more often than not, it's going to put a streak of some color on it. So we don't want dress shoes. And a lot of guys, especially when they're playing drop-in basketball, take off their shirts. So it's easy to go shirts and skins. When we see that, immediate. Let's jump on that quickly. Keep your clothing on, okay, guys? Let's not become that facility. No dunking or hanging on rims or nets. Why is that, Richard?
They break.
The people?
Yes. Whoa.
Yeah. So this one's going to be hard to police because similar to spitting, it's going to happen, and then we get to talk to them afterwards. And in my experience in sports, people enjoy getting you riled up when you tell them not to dunk. So as you're walking away, there'll be another exclamation point dunk. And it'll be up to you on whether that's worth going back and revisiting that, okay? But, so you know, we do need to police that. Rims do break, even though they're breakaway rims, meaning there's a spring built into it, so it can flex and then come back to its natural position. The nuts and bolts loosen, the springs weaken, and eventually it'll start to hang less than 90 degrees, okay? No kicking basketballs or volleyballs. Any reason why?
They get uneven.
Yeah, the balls get damaged. What did you say, Brianna?
It'll hit.
Hit other people. Yeah. We got a lot of glass, a lot of beautiful glass in this facility. We don't want to break anything. And no organized practices. No offensive language, spitting, or lewd behavior. You guys okay with that? We try to be really mainstream here. Nothing crazy yet, right? Just wait, it's going to get crazy. Okay, let's do drone policy. So not many places have a drone policy. Any reason why? What's that? They haven't caught up, right. There hasn't been a conflict. So most policies become relevant because it's been an issue. No one creates a policy for something that's not an issue. So we try to be a little preemptive in this aspect because there have been instances of drones being unsafe. Obviously some drones you've seen for Christmas gifts can be anywhere from 3 pounds. The mini ones are less than a pound. But the industrial ones that this is referencing are anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds. And then they've got some expensive elements to it. So if they fall out of the sky, the battery pack runs out of juice, hits a patron, we're talking about a serious liability at that point. It's not a 1 pound toy that's hitting you on the face. It's something a lot more dangerous. Plus, the ability of some of these drones to have cameras that can zoom in to uncomfortably close positions makes it an issue for creepers we don't want in the facility, especially since we have so many pools of water. So we've prohibited their use on the grounds, anywhere on the facility grounds. So that starts essentially from street into our parking lot, anywhere over it, and then we have the ability to talk to our neighbors and restrict their use on neighboring properties as well. So this essentially details some of that. You can't be reckless or careless in how you're using it. You can't enter, hover, launch, or land over over top of or on any property that you haven't gotten permission to use. So we'll use a drone on the 12th of May to take some cool visuals throughout the facility, and get this nice aerial look, but we've got a prior approval for that, okay? No dropping or dispensing of anything like coupons. And then we referenced no person shall obtain unauthorized views of pictures of patrons without their permission. So we tried to address all of those elements, and I think that's good for this session.